Hello, I'm Kelly Peticolas, owner of Olive Group Travel. I specialize in philanthropic group travel for nonprofit organizations. In July, I had the opportunity to travel to Italy for site inspections for two groups that I'm working with and will send next summer. The first group will stay at a farm villa in the countryside of Verona. The farm is family-owned and dedicated to the production of native wines of the area. And on the estate, there are three sections: the Cucina Capuzza restaurant, the wine cellar, and the Borgo San Donnino apartments. It is quaint with just 18 suites. All are very nice with large bedrooms and kitchenettes. Breakfast is included in the rate and served each morning outdoors on your own terrace. Lunch and dinner are available at the resort's restaurant each day. And as you can imagine, this is a beautiful place to have a wedding reception. And while I was there, several wedding events took place. I'm looking forward to my group staying at this resort for a week next June. And we will book the entire resort and use it as our home base while we have classes in the mornings, excursions in the afternoons, and group dinners each evening. After my stay in Verona, I went to check out properties for a trekking group hiking the Dolomites in both Italy and Austria next September. So I took a taxi from my villa back to the airport and picked up a rental car from National. The rates were quite reasonable as tourism is just starting to increase. I drove to Vicenza from Verona and stayed at a Marriott property close to the historic city center. I was able to drive just a couple of minutes to reach the very walkable and historic old city of Vicenza. It was absolutely gorgeous, and there were just a few walking tour groups led by a guide, but it really felt tranquil. All of the shops and historic sites were open for visitors. It was a great time to visit. I spent 2 nights there and then drove to Innsbruck, Austria. In Innsbruck, I had the opportunity to stay downtown in another Marriott property overlooking the Alps in the city. The view was incredible. I took a walking tour of Innsbruck on my own in the evening, and I was there just one night before driving back to Bolzano, Italy, where I had scheduled a site inspection at Four Points Sheraton. It was a great hotel in Bolzano with a bustling bar and restaurant, which was really quite surprising. Most of the hotels where I stayed seemed quite empty still, although everything is up and running and the service is phenomenal right now. After my night in Bolzano, I drove through the Italian Alps known as the Dolomites to Cortina to stay at the Cristallo Resort and Spa, which is a Marriott Luxury Collection hotel. This was the most luxurious hotel I stayed in during my trip, and this is really a destination hotel. The town of Cortina is beautiful. It's very quaint, great shopping and restaurants. Cortina will actually host the Winter Olympics in 2026, so I think this is a great time to visit this town, which may become very popular again after they host the Olympics in a few years. Italy is currently in a state of emergency because of the pandemic. Although the country has emerged from a third wave lockdown, case numbers are being studied and individual regions could bring back restrictions at any point. Travelers from Canada and the US are also allowed in quarantine-free if traveling on a COVID-tested flight, whether or not they've been vaccinated. Leisure travel is now permitted from Canada and Japan and the US. To avoid a 10-day quarantine, travelers can arrive on a government-approved COVID-tested flight or produce evidence of a completed vaccine cycle, recovery from the illness, or a negative test taken within the past 48 hours. Delta and Italia currently run COVID-tested flights from New York JFK and Atlanta to Rome, Venice, and Milan. The Boston to Rome service began again on August 5th. United is now offering COVID-tested flights from Newark to Milan, and American Airlines provides JFK to Rome and Milan. I myself was on a COVID-tested flight, American Airlines, from Dallas to Rome. As the first hit European country, Italy has been through a lot. However, a strict lockdown brought things under control and it held out against a second wave for longer than its European neighbors. However, the third wave has had a significant impact, despite the country going into more or less complete lockdown for the first quarter of 2021. Everywhere in the country, masks must be worn at all times, inside or on public transport, although the outdoor mask mandate has now been lifted. Social distancing restrictions remain in place, including on public transport. In some restaurants, I was scanned for temperature before I was seated. Overall, though, I thought it was a terrific time to visit Italy and see the country, with fewer crowds and very attentive service at all restaurants and hotels. I was a little concerned about driving in Italy, but it was absolutely doable and safe, even going through the Dolomites on the winding mountain passes. Before leaving the US, I did get an international driver's license at my local AAA office, and you'll need one if you're renting a car abroad. It's very easy to obtain, and if you're a AAA member, it costs just $20. Of course, we have all been to Rome and Venice, but this was my first time in the Italian Alps, and I can say that it is gorgeous and should be a bucket list destination for your travelers. I'm including the links to the villa and the resorts where I stayed, and I encourage you to check them out for yourself. Thanks for listening to my experience in Italy this summer, and I hope you get to go soon.